So everybody, on today's episode of Sign This Please, I am happy to introduce you to somebody that I have known of for a while, but I, until recently, did not meet this gentleman until about a year ago. And then I got to know all kinds of stuff about this guy, things he's done in the hobby, for the hobby, about the hobby, met through a mutual friend. And now I am pleased to present you guys with John, the basketball card guy.
Thank you.
John, welcome, buddy. I appreciate you taking the time to jump
Absolutely.
in here.
Thanks for having me.
Do this.
I love talking about this stuff.
I'm excited about this. This one I'm really excited about. First, tell everybody about how John became John, the basketball card guy.
Sure. Well, I started collecting when I was a kid, like many people do. My dad had a whole collection of baseball cards when he was growing up. I discovered them in the attic when I was young, and he gave them to me. Thought they were super cool. I saw his passion behind them, but baseball wasn't really like my favorite sport. I played baseball, but I wasn't like as passionate about it as I was in basketball. And so then I discovered that they make these basketball cards too. Like they make those same things with basketball players on them. Guys. So started collecting that. Started doing shows.
Give me the year.
So I was collecting probably when I was 8 or 9. I got my first retail job ever when I was 14 at a card shop in Mount Kisco, New York.
I'm going to circle back to that because that's where I'm from. I know the store you worked at, and it's crazy because we didn't know each other.
So I was a night manager there. I'd close down the shop at night, but that was my first retail job. Collected all throughout high school, college, you name it. And then I started doing shows probably in like 2014. I did shows in the late 90s too, but I came back into setting up at shows, and I didn't have the name yet. I was just John. I was this guy that was doing basketball cards, but everyone would point at me and be like, "Oh, that's that guy. That's a basketball card guy. He only does basketball. What a weirdo!" Like that was how they treated it. Like what? Because everyone you've been to shows.
Of course,
it's always a mix. Like people don't usually pick. They might have a concentration, but you've got a mix of all the sports because that's what you do as a vendor. Well, I was really always a collector over a vendor, and so all I really cared about was collecting basketball. So when I set up, I was just a basketball card guy, and so people call me that. It stuck. And then the rest is history along with that name. So,
first year you started collecting when your dad gave you that set. How old were you?
Probably 8 or 9.
Wow. So what year are we talking?
1990.
Okay. All right.
Yep. 1989, 1990.
So who was the hot card in that?
The one I remember when I turned over into basketball, it was really all about Shaq. Like that was the first player I remember just stacking up Shaq cards.
Rookie year card
1992.
Was 91, 92.
He was 92, 93.
The 92 classic set. I had that set.
Oh my, everyone had that set.
Yeah, I wish I kept it too.
LSU. Yeah, no.
The A-Rod card was in there. Manon Rayam. I'm probably saying her name wrong. The female goalie.
See,
she was in there.
Discarded all these that weren't basketball.
No, I get it, but there was I had a plaque that had all 8 cards on it, and it was Shaq, A-Rod. God, I gotta. Alonzo Mourning. Who was the football player?
Oh, I don't know.
I'd have to think about that. But it was, and they were all autographed.
Yep.
They were on that plaque. And you remember, you remember what the plaques were like, those plastic, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They had the 8 sleeves with just 8 guys in it. And I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Classic really brought autographs to the forefront in terms of cards. Yeah. I mean, like that was. I would say so. That was definitely...
That set was awesome.
One of my first really, really nice autographs was a Shaq, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar dual gold signed autograph classic card. And it's funny because I traded away the card at one point, and then years later, I found another one at a show. No way. And I had kept the plastic plaque-like thing that had the engraved black, with the gold. I kept that encasement for when I traded the card.
No
and
way.
So now, this is crazy. I got the card back.
I have to get this card back.
Exactly, because I still have the case.
So the collecting part, it was cards first, and then it kind of morphed into autographs for you?
So I used to do through the mail autographs when I was a kid.
So
celebrities, like anybody I could think of. But
I
wouldn't just send out like a simple request, I wrote like a 2 or 3 page letter to each, and I would like customize each one. I'd tell them a little bit about me, what I like, my aspirations in the world and all that kind of stuff in life and entertainment and all these kinds of things. But then my appreciation of them, and it was like really well thought out. And so much so that one of the core things that I included in the letter, and this is like me from the start, and I know you're the same way, but I wanted an authentic autograph. I didn't want a secretarial. Like, don't just send me back a pre-printed autograph, which is a lot of what you get back.
And you got some of it, yeah.
Sure. One of my favorite autographs from back then was George Carlin. And George Carlin wrote back to me when he signed the photograph. He had, to Jonathan, "This is authentic!" Exclamation mark.
Do you still have it?
I do.
That is awesome.
You know, like, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, you know?
So, you know he read the letter, right?
Yes.
He wrote this 2 or 3 page letter.
Yes.
You know he wrote it. You know he read it.
Read it,
and then absolutely accommodated your
Yeah.
request and then some.
And
Which is
saw the importance.
That's why we do it.
I had one.
That's why we do it.
It might have been Natasha Henstridge. I'm trying to think of who it was. It was either her or Vivica A. Fox. It was one of the two of them that actually sent me a pre-printed photo, but then autographed it on top of it. Like,
Really?
so there was a pre-printed autograph on there, and then they signed it to me, and then signed it again on it. And I was like, again, like having that one piece in the letter made the difference.
Of course.
Because it wasn't like it's not like I'm just a kid that wants mail, like a lot of us were, but
Of
you know,
course.
but I actually really cared about having an authentic autograph. If I couldn't meet this celebrity in real life, I felt like at least having an autograph from them, they took a few seconds of their life to do something for me.
Right.
And that meant something to me. And it just like it. So that's what I
But
was
again,
always
like if you tell an adult, hey, listen, I wrote this 3 page letter and I'm sending it to somebody, we're like, okay, John, good luck with that, buddy. Right? And then you get this thing back and you're like, look what I got.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
took the time to read what you sent them.
Yeah.
It wasn't
stood
like,
out.
oh, this kid John wants one. Here's his address. Stick it in the envelope and mail it out, which I'm sure you got some of.
Yeah.
I got plenty of those. My most disappointing one was Tony Dorsett. It was probably 83, 84-ish. I was probably 13 years old, 12, 13 years old. And I sent him, I had his address. I sent him a letter. And I got it back and I ripped it open and it was, I was like, God darn it. Like, this
It's
isn't
just a pre-printed
authentic.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could tell it was done by some kind of machine or a
Yeah.
stamp or whatever it was. And I was like, and I'd gotten some of those before. But a lot of times I would send baseball cards in the mail
Yeah.
to guys. And
Yeah.
you would get your autograph. White
Yeah.
Ford did it. Yogi Berra did it. Like I had all
I
these
wish I
cards.
had done that. I didn't combine the two until in later years now.
Right.
When I was a kid, I didn't realize you could do that. I thought that celebrities signed through the mail. I didn't realize that athletes would.
Yeah. See, I didn't do celebrities. That's not true. I did do some celebrities.
I had one athlete, which is still probably the coolest one I ever got back. The one that was the coolest I ever got back was Muhammad Ali. And it wasn't because of the signed, and he sent me a signed Pro Set card. And it wasn't because of the card itself, the autograph on the card itself. It was the letter that was attached to it.
Really?
From his organization that said, Muhammad, really enjoyed my letter. I was into magic as a kid, like magic tricks.
Okay.
And so part of my letter to them was telling them I was an aspiring young magician, all this stuff. And the letter wrote back and said, Muhammad's into magic as well.
Oh, yeah.
But the best part of this is, he tends to reveal the secret to the trick right after performing it, which doesn't make him a great magician. This is in this letter that they sent back to me.
Right.
But they said, but Muhammad really wanted you to have it, and so he signed this card for you. So, like, I have this letter that I framed with the card he signed that was just with the GOAT letterhead and everything from them.
Really?
Because his organization, Greatest of All
Greatest of
Time,
All
was,
Time,
yeah.
yeah.
So all of this came, that made it so much more, knowing that he had received the letter, they had read it, they had shared it with him, and then they'd shared something personal about him that linked to something about me.
Of course.
That it just, it was
And
very
you still
thoughtful.
have it still hanging in the office.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's like I said, that's why we collect.
Yeah.
That right there is exactly why guys like us collect stuff and autographs and all that. Your regular career,
Yeah.
how did you parlay that into this?
So I've owned a media company for about 20 years. Been into video production. I had early productions that were wildly successful on YouTube. When YouTube first launched, I was one of their very first launch partners in that. Just done a lot of things in those circles. Worked in television, worked in media, worked in a lot of the emerging technologies. I developed one of the very first iPhone apps that was ever created and featured on Apple.com. This was before the App Store came out. A lot of people don't remember this, but when the first iPhone came out, Steve Jobs was adamant about the fact that there didn't need to be native applications on the phone. That what he said the future was going to be was Web 2.0. There's optimized websites that when you put them on a small screen would work just as well as when they were on your desktop. And he was saying that's the future and that's what we're pushing for. A lot of people were really hoping for something they could develop on, and have something on their platform. So I went and I created a whole interactive platform in Web 2.0 application that was just basically a website that you could access on the iPhone. There was a thing called App Marks that was a bookmarking page because you couldn't just put anything on your home screen on the iPhone back in the day. So this App Marks was a way to kind of create what iPhone later did for having all these applications that you could swipe through. You could have pages of apps on there. And I was able to work with them and get my app featured on their piece, which I think was the big difference because I think Apple was noticing what they were doing and then they noticed that they put me at the top of what they were doing.
Wow.
And it was all an interactive feature. You could submit questions. I was working with a lot of famous musicians. You could submit questions for a musician to answer live on the show. You could send in your phone number and have the musician call you live on the program. Like imagine sitting here and just calling, sitting with Maroon 5 was one of the guests I had quite a few times.
Right.
So sitting with the band and just having the band call somebody on the phone. We did it with Jason Mraz, Paramore. We had all these bands that we worked with, John Mayer. We worked with all these guys. And they would literally pick up the phone, call out, and then we'd record the whole thing, and it was part of the show.
No way.
And so Apple saw this and was like, this is exemplified. And you could watch episodes on it. They're like, you are showing off everything that the phone can do. Like, down to making phone calls, which a lot of people kind of forgot about.
I think I still all forget. I know my kids forget. Hint to you, 4 knuckleheads. Answer your phone when your father calls.
Seriously. So it just it kind of like it led into my career there, and so I was doing video production. I was also doing some app development, and as the native store opened up, we started doing a lot of that kind of stuff too. And then just more recently, so in the last few years, I was an advisor to a company called Knox, which was a platform for collectors to kind of share their collection and value their collection, all these kinds of things. I was called the chief collector, the chief collecting officer. The CEO always joked about. He's like, you're the guy that we can talk to understand, like, we've got all the development. We got these developers here. They're doing their thing. They're building this stuff out. But John, does this work for a collector? Are we building something that collectors will appreciate? That was my job, was to look at it and go, yes, we are here. Yes, we are here. No, we aren't here. Here's what we can do. And then I also advised on the actual sale of the company, on where it would get sold to, which ended up being to Beckett. And so we sold the company to Beckett a couple of years ago. In so doing, Beckett discovered that I had a video production company, and so when they were doing the National, they said, hey, can you do the video for all of our big video screens, and can we make this bigger than we've done before? So we set up 20-foot by 10-foot giant video screens at the National in Chicago. Actually, it would be 3.5 years ago now that I did that for them. And programmed out these boards, and it was nothing that Beckett was like, we remember.
So that was the year before it was in New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay.
The year before it was in New Jersey.
Before Jersey.
Yep.
Okay.
And so I built out all of this stuff for them, worked with them on some video production, and so kind of brought in that world of what I do into the hobby. Wow. Ended up getting pulled into Derek Jeter's Arena Club to do the same thing. So all of the projects that you've seen Derek on video for, I've been behind that, producing those videos for them and coordinating things and these trades across the country that he did, which led to a really cool autograph story we can get to as well.
Which I'll yell at him for because, as we know, Paul's trying to get Derek on the podcast. And hey, Derek, if you're watching, we got stories to talk about, buddy.
He's great. I mean, he's exactly what you expect.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
trust me, I know.
And there's a lot of these guys that you'll meet and you're like disappointed. You know, you go like Allen Iverson is one of those guys where I've met him. He's had some great days, and you meet him and he's had some really bad days. You know, and so depending on when you meet these guys, you know, but Derek has been very consistent throughout, and he's exactly like you would expect.
But stories coming out of my ears about that guy. And they're all funny, fun stories.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's one of us. He's just a guy.
And he's a great brand ambassador. That was one of the things I said.
Derek's one of the guys that gets it.
Yep.
He understands this. He understands all the other stuff that he puts his face on.
Yeah.
He gets it. And it's rare. A lot of these guys don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't. They're in it. Oh, great. I have to go sign autographs today, or I have to go do this appearance today. If you don't want to be there, just say no.
Right. Yeah.
Reggie Jackson's a perfect example.
Yeah.
I mean, John, when I was at Steiner, we had a store in the Roosevelt Field Mall in Long Island. Mm-hmm. And periodically we'd bring guests in. And one day it's Reggie. And I swear to God, I've told this story before, but I'm sitting at the table. It's me, Reggie's agent. And the store is about as big as this studio is. It's not big, and there's floor displays all throughout. So people are wiggling their way through to get to us. They hand me the tickets. I go, okay, Reggie, two flats, 2 balls, one flat, one jersey, whatever. And he signs, slides it over. They take it and they go. And the line's down the hallway.
Yeah,
it's Reggie. You put Reggie in the middle of Des Moines, Iowa. He's going to sell 1,000 autographs.
Of course,
it's Reggie Jackson. Okay, so the line's down the hallway. We're getting yelled at by the fire chief. I'm sitting at the table, and here comes this lady banging her. She's got one of those double strollers, but it's not this way. It's side by side. Mm-hmm. And she's wiggling her 2 kids through this thing. Mm-hmm. She gets up to the table, and she's got 2 baseballs in her hand, and she hands me the tickets. I go, okay, great, 2 baseballs. Reggie signs them. Okay, thank you, but on her way. She doesn't turn the corner. Both kids start screaming. And I mean, like, bloody murder.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. She turns back around and comes over to the table and says, again, she's on that side, so she says to Reggie and the agent, she goes, guys, I apologize. Meanwhile, the kids are screaming. I apologize. My husband was supposed to come today.
Yeah.
He got called into work. He asked me to come take care of this. I have no idea what I'm doing. She goes, on one of these you signed HOF and the other one you didn't. Mm-hmm. She goes, well, my kids are freaking out because they're different. Can you just make them the same? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, okay, Reggie's going to pick up the pen and sign
HOF.
No, that'd be too easy. I sit in the chair like this. I swear to God, I'll never forget it. And he goes, lady, if you tell me what HOF means, I'll put it on that other ball for you.
Okay, but she doesn't know anything about what's going on. She's doing this as a favor.
She said it. She goes, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't.
Yeah.
She looked right at him and she goes, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
She goes, I have no idea. Like I told you, I'm just doing this for my husband.
Yeah.
I lean back in the chair and I go, really? He didn't do it. She started to walk out of the store.
Oh.
I got up off the table. I grabbed the manager of the store and I went, the lady with the 2 kids, grab her non-HOF ball, switch it in the back for one of the ones he did before the show with the HOF ball and just give it to her and just be done with it.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. And he went and did it. And I was like, Reggie, if you don't want to be here, just say no.
Right.
I know it's whatever the amount is, 50, 7,500, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
It can't be that important. Like, just for 2 hours, just smile.
Yeah.
Like, just be happy. That's all we want as collectors. We just want our 30 seconds with you. We want a nice experience. We want a great autograph, and we want to be done.
That wife is never going out and getting an autograph again.
No, she gave her husband. Hopefully,
you know what I did?
Yeah, hopefully the experience for her with the manager coming up to her and saying, "Listen, I got you. Here you go."
Yeah, but she'll never go out of her way to do that again.
And I hope she's telling that story to all her friends and all Yankee fans, because we all know I'm not a Yankee fan, and that's fine. But I was like, Reggie, really? Come on. Like, just help me out. Like, this poor lady's got these 2 kids screaming in the store, and you give her that? If you can tell me what it means, I'll sign it.
Clearly,
obviously doesn't know what it means.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, just if you don't want to be there, don't.
Yeah.
Just, you're getting paid to be there. You can say no. Derek's not that guy.
No.
Derek's that guy that just, he gets it. We always used to say it at Steiner. Some guys got it, some guys didn't.
And to your point about not liking the Yankees, you don't have a beef with Derek, though. That's the thing. You could hate the Yankees, and you still think he's a great guy.
I used to joke with them guys all the time. Mo, Andy,
Yep.
Posada. I used to joke with them all the time.
I just feel like
Well,
he's
you're not
got
a Yankee
universal
fan?
appeal.
No,
He
I'm
just
not a
has
Yankee
this universal appeal that transcends the sport.
Listen,
you know?
we've all seen the commercial when he retired, right?
Yep.
The Red Sox fans tipped their hat.
Yep. Yeah.
It was fun to boo him.
Yep.
It was fun to boo him.
But yeah, no, there's respect.
You
there for
respected
sure.
it. Of course you did.
Yeah.
But there are certain guys that probably, I'm sure Yankee fans respect David Ortiz.
Yeah.
I'm sure David's another guy that got it. David was always friendly and amazing in that sense.
I'll tell you my story because it relates to Steiner too.
Okay.
So I in 2016, Black Friday, Steiner had a sale on some of the game used bases that they had, and they had one that was marked down that shouldn't have been. That was a signed Derek Jeter. They had several, but like was the listing was for the signed Derek Jeter game used base, $500.
Yeah, that was a misprint.
I swooped in. I grabbed that.
I'm pretty sure that was wrong.
Yeah, because they were like $2,000 normally, and so
Yeah.
I swooped in. I grabbed that. They attempted to cancel the order, and they're like, "That pricing was wrong." And I was like, "This is a base I would love to have," And they ended up approving it, and they ended up sending it to me. It was meant to be. I can't tell you this how many ways. Base arrives in the mail 2 weeks later. Has all the documentation as you're familiar with. Open it up. Read through. It's from Jeter's final season, 2014. It says the base is from July 22nd, 2014. And I'm like, that rings a bell. I'm not a baseball guy. I don't participate in baseball too much, but this date rings a bell. So I go through my drawer and I'm like, holy crap. I was at that game. That was
awesome.
the last game I ever saw Jeter play in. That was the last time.
Awesome.
And it was the last game I was at with my friend who's also an investor in my company who owned a piece of the Yankees. And so he had 8 seats on the Yankee dugout. I go further in the documentation, you're reading on, and I flip over the back of the base, and I find out that the base was the first base, not just any base, it was first base, which is the base that was sitting directly in front of us at the Yankee dugout. So I go onto my phone, I go back in
I was going to say,
and I find video from that game that I shot of Jeter running and getting first base of that exact base. Standing on that base at the last game I ever saw him play in. It freaked me out. I mean, it totally freaked me out that, like, what are the odds? Because they're all, it's random what you get sent. I didn't order one based on the date. It wasn't like game dated on the website. Like, it was crazy. So now I'm like thinking, wait a minute. I go back and I'm like, I have a ball that Jeter tossed me in that game.
No way.
So during the practice, when he's doing those long tosses, because I was right there on the dugout, he tossed the ball to me at the end of the stuff. So I had the ball on my shelf, so I found the ball. I was like, this is crazy. So now flash forward. So that was 2016. Flash forward, and I start doing work with them in the launch of Arena Club. I meet Jeter at Yankee Stadium. It's his first time back at Yankee Stadium for like 8 years. Like, he hadn't been back. But he came there to celebrate the launch of Arena Club. And so we're in this private suite. And originally I was told he's not going to do autographs, not going to do any of these things. But then a friend of mine was like, he started signing some hats because he's great about autographs, you know. He started signing some hats. He just didn't want to be unprofessional. I didn't want to be unprofessional either. I'm doing video for him. But I brought the ball in my bag. And I had told my friend about it, and my friend was like, look, he's signing stuff. You can tell him. So I went up and I got him to sign the practice ball that he tossed me at that game. And I told him I have the first base from that same game. Like,
that is
how crazy. So I have it all framed together.
I was going to say, is it all together?
It's all together now. And I had him sign a cleat at Fanatics Fest backstage when I was doing some stuff with Arena Club there. And because he was only there for like half an hour, and then he was kind of whisked away, and he was not doing a public signing.
Right.
But I met him backstage there. I think it's unlikely anytime soon.
Yeah,
you
he
know.
never will.
But I had him sign a cleat that, again, just goes along. So now the cleat sits on top of the framed base. So it's like the cleat on top of the base on top of the ball. It's just neat. It's just neat. So
I never asked him for an autograph.
You should have.
All those times
he would have done it. I mean,
I know he would have, but I don't know. There was something about it. Like I had asked other guys when I was working with them, to get a personal piece done or whatever. I never asked Eric for an autograph. I
always want something with meaning, and I think that's where, like, a lot of the stuff that's surrounding us right now too. I mean, a lot of the stuff is just like whether it be an inscription or on something special. I always feel like that's important. That I'm not collecting for other people. I'm collecting for me. Other people appreciate like my mentality behind how I collect, but I'm doing it because it's appealing to me.
Sure.
And it's a hobby and it's fun. And I'm not planning to sell the stuff I have ever. Like I get it, and it's just something that I feel like it's satisfying,
of course,
having this new item that was cool before, but it's even cooler now with the autograph on it.
So let's talk about some of the stuff that you did bring.
Yeah.
There's some of the coolest stuff here. You have a card that I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this piece.
So this card, this is Tony Parker's rookie card. It came out of Fleer Force, which is a little known set at this point. It wasn't a big deal. They made 999 of this rookie card. They had them numbered on the bottom right. But the little known fact was that the first 300 of these, they put a U.S. postage stamp on, and they took it to San Antonio, to the post office, the local post office near where the games are, and had it postmarked the day that Tony Parker started in the NBA, his debut day. So you can verify that this card, this one card, was physically in San Antonio with Tony Parker the day he started in the NBA. So the first 300 they did that with.
Right.
What I did was I took this card with me to the Hall of Fame. And when he was being inducted in the Hall of Fame, I had him sign it. It's a perfectly designed card for an autograph. I mean, it's horizontal. His face is in the left here.
Side,
and then you got all of this real estate on the right that's just perfect for an autograph. Had him sign it. I had him inscribe it HOF 23. What's HOF mean? No.
Exactly. HOF,
you
what's
can
that?
Tell me. Yeah. And then I took the card to the local post office in Springfield.
This is awesome. In Springfield, mind you, where the Hall of Fame is.
Where the Hall of Fame is. Popped on the Wilt Chamberlain stamp, because I mean, that's the only thing. It was just a regular postage stamp that they put on just with the Statue of Liberty. I put on the Wilt Chamberlain stamp and had them postmark it at that post office in Springfield the day he was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
So it's the only card in known existence that you can verify right by looking at the card that it was with him the first day of his career and the day he was inducted in the Hall of Fame.
That's so awesome. Now, so stupid question, right? I think I know the answer. Does it devalue the card, or does it increase the value of the card?
Increases it by far at that point, for sure. I bought this card for $20. $20, this rookie card. And I had offers over $1,000 for it.
Did you really?
Yeah. Which I think is actually low for value. Because
I was going to say, I was thinking,
when you talk about a one-of-one, like you think about one-of-ones these days, like this is a real one-of-one. It's a thoughtful one-of-one. It's a creative one-of-one.
Creative one-of-one is what it is.
But it has meaning. It's not just something that was stamped on the card. Oh, yeah, we decided to throw a one-of-one on that one, and yet we made the same card 1,000 different ways with different colors, and we put different numbering on that. Like, this is a card that exists, and like I said, in that dual verification of where it was, the fact that he signed it at the Hall of Fame, like it just adds so much to the history of it and encapsulates. I mean, it's the coolest rookie card I have. Like out of all the rookie cards, even my Jordan rookie, I'd say this is a cooler rookie card that I have just because it's so unique in that it was their first day.
You told me the story about that card. I was like, oh my God.
Like it's just
cool.
It's just
awesome.
It really.
He gave you a great autograph.
It's yeah. And I had him use the Sharpie Extreme Fade Resistant. Those are the markers my go-to if I'm going to use a Sharpie. They stick immediately. They don't smear. And then obviously being fade resistant is good too. So, yeah.
That's so awesome. I love
It's just
it.
like
I absolutely love it. Talk to me about the other two cards you brought.
Yeah, so these two I like because they're both white paint pen. So this one I had signed at the Hall of Fame as well. This is Ginobili, Manu's card when he first got when he was inducted. It's numbered out of 10. It's a game used patch card. It's on a select gold, and so it's got a nice like kind of refractor finish to it. And this is one of those prime examples of a card that looks amazing with white paint pen because it just sets off. It's just different. It just
Silver would have kind of blended into that a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely would have.
Gold would have blended in.
Yep. Oh, well, by a lot for sure. You know, this just it really pops. He did a beautiful autograph on that one, and then the one note about these though is they take a long time to dry. Like these are Posca markers that I use, so they're that oil based.
The oil, yep. That's why.
And they take a good 10 minutes to dry fully. But when they do dry, they look incredible. So if you have the time and you can make sure that nothing's going to come in contact with the face of that card, this one's, you know, similar. It's the Allen Iverson Aurora.
That jumps right off that card.
Right. It looks like it belongs there. Yeah.
Because of the dark background
and it was a few years ago, like people were just bringing rookie cards to get signed to these things, or base cards, or just really cheap cards, like the things that you would think about mailing out. And my thing was like, if I'm going to pay to go to an Allen Iverson signing $140 to have him sign a card, which is what I paid to have him sign that. Right. If I'm going to pay $140, why would I have him sign a $5 card?
$5 card. Sure.
Why not get a card like that that's already a $200 to $300 card and insert and have him sign that? It would be more rare. Less people will ever get that done because there's less cards to have that are made already to begin with, these case hits to have signed. Why not do it that way? And
I would think most people would think, I don't want to screw up that $200 or $300 card.
They worry about it. Yeah.
To again, back to my, does it devalue it or does it increase the value? I think people need to educate themselves that way about that.
I think so too. I have a Steph Curry of that card that was also signed.
Yeah.
But that one was messed up. They used they did not use the marker I sent. It was through the mail. They did not use the marker that I sent. They used a different marker.
I hate when they do that.
And it didn't, and it is like half invisible. It's there, and if you turn it, you can see it. Otherwise, you can't. The organization, which will remain nameless, that I did that order through, they did give me a free autograph in the future, which I used on another card. But that particular card was a $500. Like the Aurora in Curry was a $500 card. So kind of ruined a $500 card. Now he's charging like $900 to sign cards now, so I guess there's value. But even still, it's ridiculous. And he'll sign an autograph for free all day long. So that's the funny part. Like a lot of these guys that are big, they get these deals, and then it's like what's our tolerance?
I remember back in the day in the early 90s, I had a friend of mine that played for the Miami Heat, and we would go to games. And one day I'm down on the floor. I went with him to the game. So we got there super early.
Yeah.
I went into the player entrance.
The early shoot-arounds, yeah.
I was sitting underneath the basket by myself, and out comes Charles Barkley. They're playing the Suns that night. Out comes Barkley. Barkley shooting around. And I had cards in my pocket. I was like, Dan Marley comes out. The two of them are shooting. Dan signs my card.
Yep.
Great guy talking. Charles, ball comes over. I throw the bounce pass back to him, and I said, Charles, when you get a chance, will you sign a card for me? He walks over to me, looks at the card, he goes, I don't sign that type of card.
What type do you sign?
It was like it was $1. It was out of a dollar box at a local store in Miami.
I mean, come on.
Because I knew I was going the next day. I'm like, I don't have anything.
I need something. Yeah.
Right, I needed something. So I went down there and I bought a bunch of dollar cards, and I had 2 or 3 of Charles. And he was like, I don't sign those cards. They were Fleer cards, they were whatever.
I don't understand that mentality. I heard that story.
It's just me and you with a black Sharpie. Just sign it.
I heard something similar about Patrick Ewing. Like he refused, a friend of mine, he refused to sign his basketball. He's like, I only sign Voigt branded basketballs. Voigt? Where do you even find a Voigt branded basketball?
I sell equipment and we don't sell Voigt basketball.
Right? Like, I mean, it's just... So my friend worked security out in Denver. And so he said a year later, it took him, over the course of the next year, because the Knicks didn't come out that often, like to West Coast teams. You get them once a year.
Used to be once a year,
yeah.
right?
So he's been the next year looking for a Voit basketball. He found one. He actually found one. Actually had Patrick Ewing on the packaging. He's like, no kidding,
Now you know why.
Yeah, exactly. So brought it with him to the game a year later. And at the end of the game, game's all over, approaches Patrick Ewing and tells him, hey, I'd really love for you to sign this. By the way, this was for a set of 1992 Dream Team. He had everybody, including Jordan, on single balls. He did not have Patrick Ewing, is the last one. Wow. So he's telling Patrick, I have everybody else on the team on a ball except for you. And Patrick goes, I'm sorry, I don't sign any ball unless it's a Voit ball. He goes, luck would have it, I have a Voit ball.
Guess what I have?
Yeah. And then he turns to me and he goes, I don't sign on days we lose.
Patrick, come on.
So Dikembe Mutombo, rest in peace, comes up and he says, Patrick, sign the ball for him. He's a nice guy. And he's so horrible Dikembe Mutombo impression. But so Patrick ended up signing the ball for him. But like, I mean, how many times can they have these things where it's just like, just tell me you don't want to sign.
Just say I'm
just
not
be
signing
honest.
it.
I don't like to sign.
I only sign Voit, so you show him the Voit ball and another excuse.
Like I would have lost it if I were. I'm like, do you know how hard it was to find this thing?
Find that damn Voit basketball that stopped being made in 1964, probably.
Come on.
I know you had a contract with him, Patrick, but come on.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, at the time of this taping, there was a big announcement from the National last week.
Yep, first time ever.
Mr. Ewing is going to sign in public.
He's so
shocked.
He did the public signing at the Westchester County Center years ago.
Okay.
I don't know how many, maybe 6 or 7. I have photos from it that I took because Rodman was signing at the same time. So actually, it was when I got this signed, 50 feet away, Patrick Ewing was signing there, actually.
Really?
Yep.
I
But
remember that.
He only signed 150 autographs. He limited the tickets to 150, which, as you know, doing what you do, you maximize the amount of autographs you sign when you come out for a thing like that.
Of
you
course.
do the public and you do the private and you do it. No, he was 150 in and out. Didn't want to do any more than that. So I wonder what the National is going to look like this year. And I hope that if people want to get a signature for him, you buy that ticket immediately.
Yeah.
Before they limit that or sell it
There's
out.
not even prices on the website yet.
I've heard people that have sent in for the private signings with him that wanted like inscriptions and stuff, that he comes in and he goes, I'm not doing inscriptions today.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well, what?
That's what I was told too.
Yeah, like what do you do, right? Like, what do you do?
That's what I was told too. I didn't. The 2 pieces I got done, I didn't ask for inscriptions, but
Yep.
I got them on 2 Sports Illustrated covers. Well, one was a Sports Illustrated, one was a sport magazine that I kept for 30 years now.
It's
It was
crazy.
him and Mullen on the cover.
My friend Tyson Beck, who does the beautiful art cards, he's done a lot of these deals with the athletes. He did a deal with Ewing, but he said it took him 2 signings. Like he only got halfway through the cards, and then they had to put him on hold. And
Crazy.
So the one great thing about that is that his stuff at least is very limited. Like if I look at him, I look at Ewing versus like an Iverson, there's a whole different world there in terms of supply,
No doubt.
that's out there. So I think Ewing's probably kept his values up in terms of the
course.
market because he just doesn't like to sign that much.
I think that price is going to blow some people's minds
Yeah, I think
when that
so
price
too.
comes out.
Yeah.
I wonder what a jersey is going to cost.
Yeah. Or a rookie card. I don't like that. I don't like that
I
they're
don't like that
charging more
either.
for a rookie card now. Like, I'm sorry, a rookie card's a flat. Like, it just doesn't. But it's worth so much more. It's like, oh, why do we need every piece of every pie?
But John, that precedent was set by companies like PSA. I'll grade this card for you,
Of course.
but if this card's going to be valued at
I want a piece
$10,000,
of
I'm
that.
going to charge you $250 to grade
Yeah.
it.
Which I also think is ridiculous. Yeah.
But they're the ones that kind of laid that groundwork for
Yeah.
what we now have and guys with a menu as opposed to flats, oversized flats, and equipment.
Yeah.
It's now rookie cards, small flats, large flats. Guys, come on.
Yeah.
Because
How much longer is it taking him to sign? Like, I always thought it was ironic that to get an inscription didn't cost as much as the autograph, but it takes them more time than signing the autograph. I thought that was kind of an ironic part. And now seeing behind the scenes with some of this stuff and how they're paid for the time and they have these minimums and things like that. It's weird that the inscription thing happened. I take advantage of it. Like I want,
of course.
But it took him this ball for Dennis Rodman. He wrote, "Don't let other people decide who you are." This took him a good minute and a half to go through. I had a piece of paper and he was looking back and forth. This is a quote that I had pulled that was a quote that he was known for saying back in the day, and I just thought it was really appropriate because coming from him, he's such a wild guy to begin with, but I like the quote. I like the fact that don't let other people decide who you are. I think it's pretty cool to live by. So this sits in my office. But, I paid, I think the autograph was like $100-ish, maybe $90, and the inscription was like $40. And the inscription took 3 or 4 times as long as it took him to sign the autograph.
A lot of the guys don't like doing inscriptions now.
Yeah.
You'll see that they'll charge more money for the inscriptions.
See, I think that's reasonable. I think that part is reasonable. I think maybe some of the high autograph prices or what they're signing being like a rookie card, I think that's unreasonable. But I think if it's going to take them a lot of time and it makes it unique, I don't mind them charging more.
Or what you'll see is inscriptions will only be HOF the year.
They have like 4 known ones that you can get.
And they're all, they're all
Short.
letters. They're all short. Most guys aren't going to do that for you. Cal Ripken did something like that for me on a team photo that he took with us.
Yeah.
I coached a 12U baseball team that went and played in the Cal Ripken World Series.
Yeah.
And Cal met us at the Under Armour store in Maryland when we were down there. Took the picture with us, and then several years later, I brought the picture to him at County Center,
best.
and he put an inscription. I said, "Cal, I need a really cool inscription from you." And he goes, "Give me a second." And he was sitting there thinking about what he was going to write.
That's the best.
And he was like, "Paul, it's really cool being part of a great team." Cal Ripken. I was like,
It
sits right in the middle of my office. It's
awesome.
Stuff, yeah. And he did it because, again, I had a relationship with him at Steiner.
Sure, but that has meaning.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
like that, and to me, I would pay way more than I paid for the autograph to have them take that time. And
because the autograph's the autograph. It doesn't change from you to me to the next guy.
Other people are going to have that autograph. Other people are going to have that same kind of item signed, in a lot of cases.
So let's talk about the special little thing you've got sitting to your left, because I've been waiting to talk about this.
So these are Sabrina 2s. These are her second launch into the footwear zone.
Signature shoe, yeah.
These are this marks the first time I believe that at least that I can think of that an athlete has gotten a unisex shoe pushed through. I think she had about 110 NBA, not WNBA, NBA athletes wearing her shoes in the past year. So these shoes come in both men's and women's unisex sizes. So everyone's wearing them at this point.
I want to say, and I might,
Yeah.
we'll do some research after. I think Steph Curry did it first. Because Steph Curry, there was a young girl, there was a young girl that wrote Steph Curry a letter saying that she went to buy his shoe and couldn't get it in her size. And he turned around in the following year. They were out in a. It might not have been unisex.
She may be the first WNBA. She might be the first WNBA.
Probably the first WNBA. But either way, it's still very, very cool.
The design of the shoe is amazing. I collect a lot of different athlete shoes. I think that the athlete's shoe is actually one of the coolest things you can get signed.
100%.
Because it says something about them. They had input. They don't have input in what their jersey looks like.
Right.
So you're getting a jersey signed. Yeah, that's the team logo. That's the team brand. I get it. This is they have input in this. So everything from the color, this was the original color, the purple color that when she first premiered them came out with all that. So I picked up a pair of these. I picked up a autograph ticket and inscription ticket at Fanatics Fest in New York, where I knew she was going to be signed.
Now those shoes are her actual size.
Her size, which I had to run,
which makes it even crazier cool.
Yeah, so I try and get the shoes in the, even if they're not game worn. I try and get signed shoes in the player sizes because again, it just feels more from the player. It has that aspect. I have a size 22 Shaq shoe that's
I was going to ask you if you had a Shaq
from
shoe.
Steiner.
I was going to ask you if you had a Shaq shoe.
That is, it's like the clown shoe, but it is a statement piece.
There's no question.
You see that and it's just oh my God. So So these shoes I bought, I had to drive 3 hours away to get them in her size. No one had them in stock in her size locally. So I drove 3 hours away, and then I took them down to Fanatics Fest. I had paid for the inscription ticket, and I'm glad I bought both of these tickets ahead of time because her autograph tickets sold out really quick.
Yep.
They were at the Olympics. They won gold. And I think it was 3 days later, 2 or 3 days later.
It was shortly after.
Yeah.
It was that week.
Yeah, she was at Fanatics Fest that weekend. And so I brought these up to get signed, and I asked her to sign the one shoe, which, as much as that's a messy autograph, that is better than any of the other autographs I have from her. So the best one I have so far.
The inscription is just
And the inscription is just
standing.
Thanks, man. It's just awesome.
I love it.
USA Gold, and then this was the first time she ever drew the Olympic logo. And I just think it makes the shoe. I mean, it just makes the autograph. It fits so well.
Sabrina, I love you, but it looks like a 4-year-old drew those rings.
I thought she did pretty good.
It's awesome. I'm so jealous of that piece. It is amazing. It
was just neat. It was just neat. But again, it's like trying to make it your own, something that would like really stand out in your mind. I knew I wanted these shoes signed. I had a pair of her shoes already signed, the Sabrina ones that were just black and whites, and that was cool. I mean, it's fine. But these look so much cooler.
Oh, those are just...
And then I had to pick out the right marker, and I tested markers, and I was just like figuring out where we're going to land, and it just,
the silver's absolutely perfect.
It just really stands out on there. But
it kind of goes with the logo on the tongue. It kind of goes with the Nike swoosh, and it's perfect.
Looks like it should be there.
That's it. I mean, that's... So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
What's John's holy grail of autographs?
I mean, it's Michael Jordan for sure.
Michael Jordan's off the table because everybody's holy grail is Michael.
But
and I'm talking about in-person autographs.
Right. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, I got this close to him at the Hall of Fame this year, and that was incredible. I spent 2 hours in the room as all these presentations were going on, and half the time I was staring at him.
Sure.
Just to see what he was doing, because it was just one of those moments.
Of course.
I have 24 Michael Jordan autographs in my collection.
Right.
At this point. But I don't have one that I ever got in person. So that's why I feel like that's my top.
I get it, but I'm taking him off the board. Like, what's the one autograph that you want to you want to meet that person?
Yeah.
Have your 90 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
Get it signed.
So on a small end, I would say it would be Thomas Bryant, who's on the Miami Heat now, who was on the Washington Wizards, who was on the Lakers, who is a PC, a personal collection of mine, like a side PC. I did the same thing back in the early 2000s with Chauncey Billups. But when Michael Jordan got too expensive to collect in the early 2000s, I went out and I bought every card I could find of Chauncey Billups that Jordan was in the same set. And so, live vicarious. I couldn't afford the limited logos Jordan, so I bought the Chauncey Billups, exquisite limited logos, and these crazy cards. And so I amassed an insane collection of Chauncey Billups cards in the early 2000s, and I still have it. It's nuts. I actually showed it to him. I met him at the National, and then again at the Hall of Fame this year. But I showed him photos. We spent a couple minutes backstage, and he's like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "No, I have a lot of your cards." And he's like, "I've never seen so many." And I'm like, "I know, I got a lot, But I like piles of rookies, everything." Did the same thing recently with Thomas Bryant over the last few years. And the reason being, he was the first athlete, the first basketball player in a long time, about 20 years, to have a perfect game. You don't hear about perfect games in basketball. You hear that in baseball. He scored 14 for 14 shots, didn't miss a shot in the game. Last time that happened, I think, was Gary Payton 20 years earlier. And then before that, you were talking it was a while before that as well. So just an incredible kind of feat. He was one of the top scorers in terms of percentage the year after that. I mean, like a really solid scorer. He doesn't get enough time actually on the court to really prove himself out. I always liked his mentality. I always liked he was supportive of his team members. You see these videos, raising the roof for people, and he's like being really supportive, even if he's not on the court.
Sure.
But when he's on the court, he's doing really well. So I collected him like crazy in the last few years. And one of those things that I've collected is I have a couple of his, or three of his game-worn jerseys that I've gotten from the NBA auctions and stuff. it would surprise you how cheap I got them. But like, because when you think about that stuff normally being in thousands and thousands of dollars, like I'd say the average one I got was 300 of his. Gave you his jersey.
You're gonna pay that at the NBA store for a fake
for
one.
A fake one.
Yeah,
and here he wore it in a game and he scored 16 points and he had all the stats and everything on it. I would love to meet him. I would love to share, similar to the way I did with Chauncey Billups, share kind of like how crazy this collection is. I got like 21 of ones of him. I've got some of the crazy. I have the black Prism 1-of-1 refractor auto. I'm like, I have like some of the most insane cards that exist of him. I own. I have in his breakout year 2018-19 when he was playing for the Wizards. They didn't really make many of his cards. He was only in Immaculate Collection. It was the only set that he was in because he didn't have a great year the year before. But like I said, he had this perfect game in 2018-19, and there was only one set that had his cards in it. So I collected that set. I got the 1-of-1. I got the 1 out of 10, the 25, the 35, the 99. I have all of the cards they produced of him in his entire breakout year. Like I own them all. So like all of that, one of each one. So he would be the one that I think would be great to just sit down with, and I'd love to have like 10 or 20 minutes, just sit down, share kind of all this. He probably hasn't even seen half the stuff that's been made. Get him to sign some of the jerseys. Yeah.
How the hell is he going to see it if it's all in your house?
But he grew up in the town that my wife grew up in Rochester, New York. So he was local. Like he lived like a mile away from where she lived. So there's that connection too. He goes back up to Rochester, New York every year to do a basketball camp. And so I'm thinking that's probably next August is probably going to be the time I finally go up there.
Let's go see
I'll
the
put
in-laws.
my kids in the camp as well, you know, and then just go up there and get some stuff signed and hopefully meet him at that point. But I think he'd be the one. I mean, I would love to meet Steph Curry.
Sounds like a road episode to me.
I know, right? Like, let's do it. Let's go.
Follow you around.
It's just, but I think that would be the most special, again, just from that standpoint. But yeah.
Not the name I was expecting. I'll be honest with you. I was not expecting that name to pop out. But wow. Okay.
Maybe a different Bryant, but not everyone's which Bryant? On the Lakers? Oh, yeah,
the one
exactly.
The one from the Lakers?
Yeah.
We can do. All right. So all right. So let's, I'll parlay that.
Yeah.
Jordan aside, what's the coolest autograph you have in your collection? Coolest in-person autograph?
I mean, I think the Jeter's got to be up there.
Yeah. Was it because of where it was and how it happened?
Yeah.
Because it was kind of organic, really.
Yeah. I would say that's definitely just because it all really felt meant to be. Other than that, like I have a collection of 1996 locker room caps that are signed by the Bulls. Okay. And so I've gotten a lot of those signed in person. I still need Pippen on those. And then last year, I haven't shared it on my social media yet.
Do we need a drum roll?
It's pretty crazy. I was able to get an NBA Finals hat for the Supersonics from '96. So they were against the Bulls.
Right.
And this was like kind of the turning point in Sean Kemp's career. If we think back, like a lot of people thought the Sonics were going to win that year.
Sure.
And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Jordan pulled it out and the Bulls pulled it out. But I got a Finals hat. I got it signed by Gary Payton first. And he put like Steals Leader, 1996 Steals Leader, you know. And then I went to a signing with Kemp. And I was like, I paid for an inscription, and I was like, I would love it if you would just, you can use an expletive, it's fine, but if you could just put how you feel about this on there with the autograph. And so he signed it, and he wrote, F them Bulls, but he wrote it all the way out.
No way.
So in this collection, I got all these locker room caps from the championship Bulls, and then I've got the NBA Finals hat from the Seattle Supersonics with that real sentiment there, that raw sentiment.
Wow.
On the other side. So that's one of the coolest. I got a lot of cool ones, but like that's one of the coolest recent ones that I haven't shared. People have not seen that yet.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, yeah.
I was at the when I was at the National this past year. Was it Cardale Jones? Was the quarterback from Ohio State?
I don't know.
He was there. He had won the Heisman,
Uh-huh.
and some guy in front of me had a replica jersey of Ohio State, And he said, same thing. He goes, hey, can you do me a favor? Will you write F Michigan on there? And he goes, absolutely. And I actually recorded it on my phone.
Yeah.
And he was like, he wrote it big and bold right up the 1. And on the 0, he signed his name. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yep.
Like you said, I love that unique thing, that
It's cool.
that feeling that, you know, tell me how you feel. And he was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fuck Michigan.
Yeah.
And he wrote it right out. Big black.
I got video Kemp doing it too. It is amazing. And that's the thing too. Like I always tell people, if the athlete or the celebrity doesn't mind, like video record the autograph.
Absolutely.
It is way better than any certificate of authenticity you can ever get after the fact. And I think a lot of people have this misunderstanding about what a certificate of authenticity is if they don't read the certificate. You know, someone who goes and gets their autographs authenticated by PSA, that's an opinion. It doesn't mean your autograph is authentic.
Right.
It doesn't make it authentic. I know we call it authentication, but all it is someone rendering an opinion on what they think, if it's real or not. You having that video, you're like, that's cool and that's special and it shows it, you know? And so I have video of this ball getting done. I have video of these shoes. I have over-the-shoulder video of these shoes being done.
No way.
So, and her saying, this is the first time I've ever drawn the logo.
There you
It's
go.
not just me saying it. It's right out of her mouth. Like this is, you know, like, and that, like I said, like if you can document that kind of stuff, I mean, it makes it that much cooler for,
No doubt.
you know, for sharing that. My son had a really unique, outside of basketball, my son had a really unique experience. This past year, Topps does their hobby rip night. I don't know if you heard about these things. They do these big events. You know, 400 card shops are all participating, and you know everyone's just encouraged to rip packs that night. And then what Topps does is they grab like 50 athletes and they put them into local card shops across the nation to surprise fans and have them come and open packs with people.
Right.
I was doing video production for Skybox Collectibles in Norwalk, Connecticut, who had rented out a restaurant that's connected to Citi Field for their rip night.
Okay.
Topps, because they saw, wow, this is going to be at Citi Field. It's 10 minutes from the airport. That sounds like a big place to put it. They sent them Tom Brady to do this event. So
I saw the video of it.
I saw the video. So Tom Brady comes, does this event.
I didn't realize that's where it was.
Yeah. So I'm doing some, and it was connected with Skybox. So I'm doing some video work with them. I did their screens ahead of time and stuff and work with them there. And through that, I got my son to be Tom Brady's first trade. So, and I have 5 camera angles on this of my son, you know, who I don't show on social media. People don't know, like I have not shared this on my social media, but my son actually gets to do a card trade with him, and Tom trades him one of his own refractor cards, a Tom Brady refractor card he gets. What an amazing experience. But having that on video, like he may forget it in the future or whatever. Like his friends will never believe that it happened until they see the video.
Of course.
You know, and it's just an amazing thing to be able to point back to. And my daughter got a football signed by Tom at that event, which is also insane. Like, it's just like those things that you hear about, like, I don't know if they're actually approachable, if they'll do it. You know, people had said prior to that event, he's not signing autographs. He won't sign autographs. He charges $3,000 an autograph now. He's not going to sign autographs. Absurd. And he signed at least 75 autographs that I saw there. So
Tom doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would.
No, he was there to have a good time, you know, and I got to see some behind the scenes with him there too, where everyone's throwing all these things at him, like, oh, you got to remember this, you got to mention this about the product, and he's like, guys, can I just go out there and have a good time?
Right.
Like, and they're, yeah, go ahead, you know, like, but I mean, like, again, it comes down to what we were talking about at the very beginning of this podcast, right? Like, it's just like, if you're there to enjoy yourself and do, if you want to be there, be there.
Be there.
And he wanted to be there.
He wanted to be there.
Yeah. You know, so just
all
let
you
him
can
be.
ask.
You know, like,
literally all you can ask.
Yeah. So.
All you ever asked any of these guys was just be present. Just make that little kid's day.
Yeah.
And this little kid's day, too.
We're all little kids. We're all little kids.
John, I can't thank you enough.
My pleasure.
It was fantastic. All the stuff, all the insight, all the information. Awesome.
Anytime.
I appreciate it. Listen, we could probably do several episodes on your stuff and the things that you do. For those that are listening, and I hope it's millions of you, it's my dream that it's millions of you. The world of collecting is a little bit different for everybody, as you can tell. Follow what you want to do it the way you want to do it, and have a good time while you're doing it. It's a fun hobby. Go get those autographs that you want, and don't be afraid to, when you see that athlete, when you see that musician, when you see that actor, yes, maybe they're having lunch, they're having dinner, or whatever it is. Be polite and just ask, sign this, please. Thank you.